Dune is directed by Denis Villeneuve and stars Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, and a ton of other celebrities, and tell the story of a noble family that becomes embroiled in a war for control over the galaxy's most valuable asset, while its heir becomes troubled by visions of a dark future. Now, I remember watching this movie back when it first came out. It was after one of my college classes. I was feeling bored, felt like watching a movie in IMAX, and so after class I stopped by my, at least the nearest IMAX screening that I could find, got a ticket to see Dune, mostly because I am a big fan of Denis Villeneuve's work. Prisoners, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, go watch my review of that to see how much I love that movie. I just find this director to be extremely talented, giving us some of the best visual spectacle we have mixed in with great storytelling. So, with him directing a new movie, I was automatically excited. I don't know much about the source material. I never read the book or heard of anything of Dune before I heard that he was going to take this project on. So, I watched it and I really enjoyed it. I loved this film when it first came out. I thought it was a visual masterpiece. I thought the story was very interesting. The scale was grand. The world building was intriguing. The characters were engaging. My only problem, and this seemed to be a lot of people's problem back then when it first came out, was that the movie kind of stopped. Now, I don't know if it's going to be a lingering problem for me, because we already have part 2, and the first movie was actually pretty financially successful. So if the second movie comes out and is really good, and I heard really good things about it, then it might make this ending of the film a lot more digestible, because it really does stop in the middle of the story. We're just getting like half of the book. It's kind of what Warner Brothers did with the It franchise and how they split that book into 2 movies, and it's like this duology. I felt like though it worked a little better in It, because at least the 2 movies felt like they were more complete movies for each other and for different reasons. This is just like one half of the book, and then it stops, and then we get to the other half in the second movie. At least that's what it feels like to me. At least someone who did not read the book. All I could do is just judge the movie for its own merits, and rewatching it again in 4K, I have to say this movie does hold up on rewatch. I did not think the ending was as aggressively cut in the middle of the story as I thought it was back then, but it still does feel like an incomplete story. It remains my only big criticism of the film in terms of its storytelling and writing. But other than that, I found the dialogue here very engaging. The characters were intriguing, and I enjoyed watching this world flourish. I wish I could see more stuff about this world, like the House of Atreides. I would have loved to explore a lot of their planet and the people who live there, and just to get a sense of what the House of Atreides is, get a sense of their planet. And I feel like that's something that could have been explored if they had plans for an entire trilogy, but they got 2 movies, and I think for what they were able to work with here, I think at least fleshed the basics out well enough to have us engaged with our main protagonists. Which leads me to the cast of this film. This is a stacked cast full of celebrities like Zendaya, Josh Brolin, you got Jason Momoa here, who is someone that I never imagined being in a Denis Villeneuve film, and I just found all these cast members just great in their roles. Even when they are playing versions of themselves, like Jason Momoa is definitely playing a Jason Momoa role, it still feels natural within the story, and he still feels like a character who lived throughout this film. It felt natural within this world, And he's not just like always a dude bro Momoa character. He's mostly like that in the film, but there's moments of empathy where he's just more down to earth and serious with everyone around him, and it works very well. And Jason Momoa does a great job. Oscar Isaac is fantastic, and Rebecca Ferguson as Paul's mother is really fantastic here too. And you really do buy these two loving each other as the king and queen of this royal empire. Despite coming from two different backgrounds, still were able to feel connected enough and are able to put their lives on the line for their son, because they both know how much he means to this entire war. Especially Rebecca Ferguson's character, which I won't spoil in case you haven't seen the film, but I find what they did with her character and her backstory and how we explore more of her side of the family and how that connects to the villains very intriguing. I'm very interested to see where that goes in the sequel, but in this film, I think it creates a lot of unique conflict for our main protagonist, Paul Atreides, to confront. And there's a lot of self-doubt with this character. He's kind of a hero who doesn't know his calling as of yet. He's still trying to practice some techniques that come from his mother and trying to learn more about the political side from his father. And he's trying to live the best of both worlds. And you can tell that it's taken a toll on him emotionally. And Timothée Chalamet portrays that very well with his performance. I found him to be really engaging in this film, despite being a more quiet performance. And a lot of performances in the Denis Villeneuve films are probably going to be a little bit more quieter performances for most of these actors, because everyone loves talking in this serious, slow tone. I still found, at least with the dialogue, these performances to be really engaging, because there's always something interesting going on in what they're saying and what they are trying to do, and the movie never feels like it's wasting time. Now, compared to some of other Denis Villeneuve's films, this is a bit more of a blockbuster. Now, from what I heard of Dune, it's a lot more slower paced, there's a lot more world building and talking and politics, and that's what this movie mostly is. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of talking, a lot of dialogue. So I don't know if this is going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's kind of the same thing that they did with Blade Runner 2049. As much as I love that film, that is mostly dialogue based, and there's not like a whole lot of action going on. Now, with this film, while there is still plenty of dialogue, Denis Villeneuve was able to make this film a little bit more digestible for audiences who want a big sci-fi epic. And all the fight sequences here, especially in the middle of the film, were great. You feel the scale, the weight, the intensity, the dread. Everything about the atmosphere of this film worked extremely well and creates something foreboding and dark that is lurking throughout every corner whenever the antagonists come about. And Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron Vladimir is intense. He is probably the scariest villain in this entire film. He just has a sense of terror within him. The way he speaks to others in this almost sadistically monotoned voice is just all around creepy, and his whole design too was just oozing with evil. How his costumes were designed too, whenever he floats, was something alien. Denis Villeneuve knew how to portray the Harkonnens here, and they were terrifying and brutal in the film. Despite this being PG-13, you still feel the brutality of these villains and what they're trying to achieve. And it creates a lot of great tension within many of these fight sequences and the dialogue sequences as well whenever they're plotting behind the scenes. Now, I can't go on further with this review without mentioning the absolute brilliant visuals and cinematography, because I love Roger Deakins' work with Denis Villeneuve, especially in Blade Runner 2049. In fact, in terms of the best looking Denis film, I think Blade Runner 2049 is more appealing to me and is my favorite. But that isn't to say Greg Fraser doesn't do a fantastic job here as well. He portrayed all these planets, all these visuals extremely well with his brilliant use of wide shot, having everything on the screen feel grand and big, and having everything in the background just topple completely over anything in the foreground, making this film feel tangible in a way that is realistic in a sci-fi sense. It's just brilliantly portrayed. I haven't seen sci-fi films like Dune or Blade Runner look and feel this good since Star Wars, really. At least the original films and prequels. Nothing to that extent has been topped until now with Denis Villeneuve. He's able to portray sci-fi in a very convincing way. Not to mention the visuals are fantastic. Not a single visual shot, well, maybe at least this shot with Paul Atreides' eyes, that kind of looks very weird, but other than that, this movie looks great. Nothing felt unrealistic. All the designs were creative and interesting. The way the whole House of Atreides palace looks, it's just fantastic. I love the production design here, and it felt very tangible, and it felt like it was lived in within this world and something that would exist in this universe, so to say. Overall, I found Dune to still be an extremely engaging watch. Now, the rewatchability is going to have to be determined once I see the second movie, but overall, this movie is still fantastic with great performances, great characters, great writing and dialogue, fantastic visuals and cinematography. This was everything I want a sci-fi epic to be, and I cannot wait to see part 2 when it comes out. I'm going to give Dune Part 1 an A+. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.